Dear Boone, this is a faithful narrative of all my dealings with Boone Alexander. That's an inside joke. The year, 1998, long-awaited, anticipated, tears of joy. We are having a boy. Dad dreams of football days and looks for strong boy names. And we name you Boone. It means blessing. I'm glad we're having a boy. Christmas Day, a hospital visit, and then 2 more days to wait. December 27th, your day to enter the world, an Alexander. And you arrive to the soundtrack of Les Mis playing in the delivery room. That is not a joke. I think Dad had a religious experience. He cried. You were a serious baby, so it was a whole lot of fun to crack you up. You laughed with your entire face and your entire body. Not often, but big. And you still do that. You did everything by the book, which was good for me because I like a book. Psst, what's so hard about this mom thing? Huh? What's the big deal? I got a job teaching preschool music and I dragged you with me. Along you came, my perfect baby boy. And Dad and I, we followed the script, the parent script. Now, I don't know if that's a thing, but it feels like a thing. Soccer team, baseball team, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, summer camp, scout camp, piano. The one thing you didn't actually have to be dragged to, piano. On reflection, there's a good bit of Boone being dragged around, I think. On hindsight, you offered us so much grace. And you still do. Your 6th birthday, Star Wars party, custom-made cake, your choice. Queen Amidala. Queen Amidala? Not Darth Vader, Anakin, Obi-Wan Kenobi? Nope. Queen Amidala. And then, like the Bible describes Mary, I began to ponder these things in my heart. Man, you could read. I mean, like, seriously read. The summer before your 3rd grade year, you finished the last of the Harry Potter series. All 7 of them. And for the next 4 years, your best friend, your only friend in the world, was a book. And I pondered. A middle school is no picnic, but it hit you hard. And we met a counselor. He poked a hole in the assurance of our awesome parenting. And we had some changes to make. He penetrated to the core of my solitary pondering. Dad, he said, bending over to stare intently into Mark's eyes. Dad, what are you going to do when Boone comes home and says to you, I'm gay? When? Not if. When? There it was. There it was. All my pondering suddenly out loud in the room. All of my silent, undisclosed pondering just there. It had been spoken, and it could not be unspoken. And I wish I could say, I really wish I could say, we high-fived and we smiled, but we did not. So more Boone dragging around. Do you remember? Early morning devotionals, workouts with Dad, forced trips to Sam's. I think you hated it all, but you did all the things. Reluctantly, but you did them. Man, what we didn't know was a lot, but you gave us a lot of grace. In high school, you changed so much. You had friends, mostly girls. You grew 5 inches. Your entire body changed. I mean, 6'1", thin, handsome. I really don't think you saw what we saw. And you navigated high school like a champ, or so it seemed. Governor's honors. You went off that summer before your senior year, but you came home and you were different. I liked you, but you were different. Confident, witty, sarcastic, smart as hell. But you had tasted autonomy, and you liked it, and you were different, which did not bode well for your senior year. You were done, a blur. your anger, your struggle, and that you were carrying it all alone. Drama, more counseling, which you set up and attended on your own with my blessing. And I longed to know what was on your heart, but I felt like this journey had to be done by you alone, and you did it. No more dragging you. Although I think the legacy of that is maybe now that you drag yourself. All the pieces of you coming together. At least that's what I was praying for. And off you went to school to leave Dad and me with just faith. Faith in God, faith in you, faith that maybe because we had tried to do our best that you were your best. And then March 2018, freshman year spring break, the last day. They always wait till the last day. Indian food, you driving, and you stop at the top of the driveway. Mom, I'm gay. Your eyes. I will never forget your eyes. I knew this was your truth. And I received it. And I think I said something really dumb like, I'm not surprised. Okay, now moms, listen, that's not the best response because it sounds like you had the answer to the thing all along and it's taken them 19 years to figure it out. That is not a good answer. That is a moment I would like a redo on. I would have said something like, Boone, I'm so happy for you. You have discovered an important piece of who you are, and I am with you on this journey of discovery. You can count on me as your ally. But I did not say that. Maybe it was okay. You showed me a lot of grace. You do that. Have I mentioned how much grace you've shown your dad and me? And then I said, tell your dad or I will. Now look, I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but that's what I did. I am not wired for big secrets, especially from the person I admire most in this world, your dad. So you said you would. And the next day, Sunday, I was working and you called me. I told him. You did? How are you? I'm good. How's Dad? He's good. He says he's good. I don't know if he's as good as he says he is. Well, where are you? We're at Sam's. Jeez, some things don't change. You come out and Dad drags you to Sam's. But I think it was okay. Boone, you are so loved and cherished by your dad and me. God, in the power of the Holy Spirit, had prepared our hearts by circumstances and books and friends and stories and relationships and just so many ways to be ready to receive your story and to support you. And that's grace. Our story has always been one of grace. To conceiving you after a long time waiting and to watching you grow into the man you are now, to the path that leads you into your future. We're so proud of you. God has been grace to us through you. I love you, son. Your name means blessing, and that is what you are. P.S. The fact that you bawled like a big ugly cry during Les Mis movie and that you also love Jane Austen was a bit of a giveaway. The end. So, one of the things that we're asking each one of our guests is we're asking them to talk to us a little bit about their inner life, their spiritual journey, and what that connects to with you. So what would you say your spiritual journey has been in your relationship with like God and yourself?
So I've had like rediscovery of God like multiple times. Like I've had to because at first I think I got like the original Sunday school God of like, hey, this is like the groundwork of what Christianity is, blah, blah, blah. Then, then I got it again in the form of just like listening to some sermons and like, this is what we believe as Christians. And then I got it again kind of just like reading parts of the Bible and then being like, oh, hey, this is like what the values of Christianity and Christ are. And then I got it again just like living my life and being like, this is how like Christians and Christianity should interact with people on a larger social scale.
Boone, what are some things that your family has done over the years since you were a little boy that has kind of brought you along in your faith journey?
Make me go to church.
Well, besides
They
that.
make you go to church.
Yeah.
Every Sunday morning.
So I've had the privilege of being a bit of a fly on the wall with the Alexander family. And I have really enjoyed watching how the family works together to allow personal autonomy and growth in who they are, but still within the umbrella and core of faith and love and grace. What's your family mission? Don't you guys have a framed family mission?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh.
I know what it is. I look at it all the time. I just, I couldn't tell you. I know it's like really noble. And
Mark Alexander, he is kidding. He actually does know what it is, in case you're listening. That's his father.
I do, for sure.
I bet Michelle can tell me what it is.
Well, it boils down to being honest and being able to be ourselves. And it's been important to us to have a home where it felt safe to come home. And we want that for our friends too. So anyone who comes in, we have a little thing where we say our home is a haven. And I will say that through 26 years of being married, I do feel like that Mark makes it important for us to have a haven there. And we want that for anyone who comes in the door. Even for our kids, and even when they don't always do things the way we would want them to do, we still want it to be a haven. And so that's sort of been our umbrella. But we did some force feeding of faith, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
What'd that look like?
Just, making me go to church. I mean, because especially when I don't want to. Oh, yeah.
Wait, what was that?
Can you talk about morning devos?
Oh, gosh. When I was in middle and high school, we would get up at like 6 in the morning and go down, and we would always do something like watch part of an Andy Stanley sermon or read part of a devotional book that my mom was reading. Something like that.
And they loved it.
Yeah, it was totally delightful.
No, here's the spot on truth. I'm not sure that's a great parenting tactic. And if I had it to do over again, I would probably do it differently. But at the time, we were trying to engender a habit of dealing with your inner life first thing in the morning and connecting to your higher power first thing in the morning. And I don't know if it worked at all, because he's on his own now, and I don't track with him every day. I like the person he is, but it was comical at times.
Yeah, well,
there was a lot of reluctance,
a lot of resistance, but I think it's a good habit to I don't know. I'm not 100% faithful about tracking with my inner life 100% of the time, but I mean, it's a good habit for sure.
What's your take on the Bible?
It's probably a sin, but I have a really irreverent kind of, just because of the fact that I don't think it's so, I think it's it's right and good to kind of be in this fear kind of awe of God. Just yeah, God, you can blow up, you can turn people into pillars of salt or whatever. But I also feel it's a good kind of tactic, at least in your spiritual development, to acknowledge Christ and acknowledge God as as someone you can grab coffee with, or someone with a sense of humor, because I don't think just God would want us to consider ourselves, peons, even though we are, because that's not what he created us to be. So I always read the Bible. I have a King James Bible.
You got the KJV?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
You're reading the KJV.
I like it.
See, I grew up, you had to read the KJV. If you didn't read the King
Bible.
James version,
I like it.
You were destined for eternal fire. And so it was the only true version. We didn't know how it came about. I didn't know a thing about it.
Yeah.
It was the only one.
It reads like an epic poem. I like it.
So you're sort of like living my other life. And so before we let you go, I want you to tell me like a character that you connect with and just reinterpret the Bible Boone style. This is going to be the Boone James version.
I really connect with like early Moses or like Peter, just because of the fact that like Moses is like literally staring at a burning bush that's not being burned up, and God is like literally speaking to him, like deep booming voice of God, whatever. Moses. And Moses is kind of like, who, God, are they really gonna believe me? What am I gonna do? Who do I say sent me? And then God is like, just say that I am sent you. And then Moses is like, all right, but Pharaoh, how are the Jews gonna believe me? How are they gonna see me? And Moses and God's like, all right, well, take your stick and boom, it'll turn into a snake, and then stick your hand in your bosom and it'll turn into leprosy, and then they'll believe you. And then Moses will be like, God, but how am I really gonna? And then. And essentially, Moses is just like, you know what, God, I would really love to, but I am just like not good at speaking. I'm not eloquent or anything like that. And God is like, who made man's mouth? And that's essentially. And then I like Peter too, because of the fact that just like Peter always thinks he knows best. Like the story of whenever, Peter is like trying to get around the rule of like forgiveness. So like, how many times do I really have to forgive like my friend or my brother? And he's like, you know what, Jesus, and like, I think the rule was like, you have to forgive him 3 times. And Peter thought he was going to be really clever and go with 7. And then, he was like, you know what, Jesus, should I forgive my brother like 7 times? And Jesus is like, no, Peter. No. You see, what are you doing forgiving 7 times, Peter? You gotta forgive people 7 times 70 times. And then Peter was like, whoops. But no, I do like relate to Peter because of the fact that like, he tries. He tries his best. And I especially like it in like Acts whenever Peter kind of like comes out of his, Peter starts thinking outside the box, because in the Gospels, Peter is only thinking like in the context of Judaism, or of like, not Judaism, but like old school faith, and then in Acts, Peter, along with the other apostles, but mostly Peter, comes up, he starts like thinking outside the box of like what is possible with the philosophy of Christ. And I think it's really cool. I think Peter's journey is one of the highlights of the Bible, honestly.
I'm picking up that you like imperfect Christians in the Bible, how they represent.
Because they represent us. Yeah. I mean, no one's perfect.
Right. Just average Joes, just doing the best they can.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Joseph. Like Joseph in Genesis with the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
I don't like him either.
I don't like him.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I don't dislike him, but I don't think he's the best.
To him?
I don't think he's the best biblical character, just because of the fact that like he's essentially like the Bronze Age prom king. He's like, everything comes easy to him.
Well, I mean, except for the pit
well,
with his brothers.
Yes, but that's only because he was going around being like,
bougie.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that like he should have been thrown in the pit or anything, but I mean, it was only because
Boone, reaping and sowing is biblical.
It was only because Joseph was going around talking about how he's having dreams that like, yeah, I was, there were all these bushels around and y'all's bushels bowed to mine. So I guess that means I'm better than y'all. Whoops. So yeah, if I was Joseph's brothers, I'd be a little pissed too.
Yeah,
but
because you do have a brother like that. Do you think that's maybe why you connect to Reuben and Simeon and Judah?
I wouldn't say that I connect with the brothers either, because their solution was to sell them into slavery. But like,
Pete, we are not going to let that happen to you, so don't you worry about that.
well, thanks to the 13th Amendment, more's the pity. But no, don't say that. That's not okay. Okay.
We're breaking barriers here, folks, today. So
Yeah. No, I didn't connect with Joseph. I like, who are some other biblical characters that I like? I like Mary.
What did you tell me about when you read Judges? I came home and you told me.
It's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Judges.
Judges is like Game of Thrones. The book of Judges. I've been trying to go through, I have been trying to read the Bible. I have not been very successful thus far, but
you started it.
Yeah, but I got through Genesis, Exodus, skipped Leviticus, read Numbers, skipped Deuteronomy. I should probably go back. I got to go back and read Deuteronomy.
Yeah, because like it shapes a lot of theology and the rest of the Bible.
Okay, well, I
gotta
got to
have because it's the whole blessings and curses thing.
I got to go back and finish
Tit
it
for tat.
because I know that's when Moses dies, and like that's like a real bummer for the Bible. I read Joshua, and Joshua, poor little Joshua, he's no Moses, I can tell you that. But I like Judges was just wild because of the fact that it's incredibly violent. Like, I think it's almost one of the most violent books in the Bible just because of the fact that, like, hey, oh, you're sleeping? Nail in your head. Like,
Tent peg,
whatever, steak. I mean, ouch. But I like Judges too because it also highlights the fact that the Israelites kind of suck.
Yeah, like us, right?
Yeah.
definitely, I guess.
Yeah, no. The Israelites, they're trying, I mean, you know, and
They're
these...
like great starters. They start everything amazing. Like somebody reads them the book of the law, they're like, yes, we were supposed to do that. And then it's like every January when we start a diet and we buy a gym membership.
Excuse me, I've been running more often. I've been keeping up with my New Year's resolution.
Wow.
Well,
See,
sort
there you
of.
go. You're transforming.
Not really.
You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Judges, you know, oof.
What do you think here? You know, I could talk to you all day, but what do you think Judges, that book, says about God? Like when you read that, what do you say about God after you read that book?
Well, it's like it's reflective of like the biblical cycle, which is like, just like God's people fall in sin and God raises up someone to lead them out of it. That happened in, you had it in Genesis with like Joseph, you know, oh, hey, we're in trouble. God raises up Joseph to lead him. Oh, hey, Exodus, Moses, we're in slavery. God raises up Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery. That process kind of gets microcosmed into Judges just because of the fact that the Judges become less and less remarkable as the story goes throughout. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think like the highlight of Judges is, Deborah.
A woman?
Yeah,
No
believe
way.
it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, Esther's not the only Old Testament woman, baby. Like Deborah is...
She's bad.
Yeah, Deborah's badass. But,
We do cuss on this programming as well.
Whoops.
Trigger.
No bleeps in
warning.
here. But Deborah, I think, is the highlight of the book of Judges. And then, of course, there's Samson. But Samson is not a model of behavior. And he's like the last judge, I think. Mm-hmm. He's like the last judge. And I think it's kind of a commentary on like the decline of Israel up to that point, just because of the fact that like the judges become more and more, not bad, but like not kind of godly. Mm-hmm. When it comes to their behavior. Samson was like a philanderer and a murderer. So it's not like...
He has some problems.
Yeah. Not the least of which is that he can't keep it in his pants for some Philistine floozy.
Yeah, but he had great hair, though.
He had great hair.
Well, he never cut it.
He had
so it had to be kind of out of control, I think.
You don't think he had no product.
He had no product, no conditioner, and he's living in the desert with all that dry air. I think it may have been kind of frizzy.
It's kind of ripe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He may have braided it though, so that might have been fun. But do you think Samson also had a beard?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But so, do you think that would have?
God, he looked like Crowder.
Do you think that would have? But do you think that like that would have counted because God says he can't cut hair? But like, does that mean that he could never trim his beard?
That is an unanswerable mystery of the Bible. So,
Pope Francis, if you're listening to this, answer our questions.
So we've kind of gotten your take on, you have a lively way of interpreting scripture. How did you just come up with that one on your own, or do you feel like that?
I don't
that's
know.
how God's just kind of revealed it to you, or?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who can say? I'm a funny person. That's really selfish, but no, it's just easier for me. It's just easier for me to digest the material of the Bible that way, because otherwise it's a chore.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, I like your take on the Bible. I think it gives people permission to check it out and explore it without some of the preconceived notions of how they're supposed to do it. So I like that. Just,
the Bible, hey, it's it's not boring. It's not at all boring.
And you, my dear, are not boring either.
Thank you.
On that note, I think we're going to wrap this podcast session up. We really do appreciate you being with us today, Boone.
Thanks for taking time with us
Anything
today,
for you, my dears.
This is great. This is New Wine. Have a great day.
Who made man's mouth?
The interview that you just heard was with Boone when he was 20 years old. It was February of 2019, a couple of weeks before the General Conference of the United Methodist Church met in St. Louis to discuss human sexuality. The General Conference adopted the traditional plan, which prohibited gay marriage and the ordination of gay clergy. The interview that follows takes place 1 year later. Boone's 21. It happens in March of 2020. And just listening to the one that we did before, to Boone's engagement with the Bible and Scripture and the church, and then listening to the one that we have in March of 2020, makes this mom's heart ponder.
I can't help it.
You can't help what that
everything that comes out of my mouth is brilliant.
Just let it flow. Be yourself. Don't try to be podcast Boone.
Be your beautiful self.
It'll come. It'll come. All right, can we start
Mom
again?
did not like that.
You can do whatever you want to. If I have to edit for 4 hours, I'm going to call you every time.
Well, get rid of
Mom
all
did
that.
not like
It's
that
gone.
take.
All right, it's
She
gone.
did
Let's
not
start
like
again,
it.
and this time is for real.
She said, "Cut."
Yeah, I'm serious, man. Let's just go with it. Just be you. All right, we ready?
3, 2.
So, just thinking a little bit about, I've known you for a while, Boone. I've watched you grow up in the Alexander family, and you have been you know, part of what we do here on New Wine is we talk about faith. We talk about extraordinary life stories. And I think your story is pretty unique in that in the last couple of years, you've had some big things happen in your world.
Yes.
So give us some highlights of some big things that have happened in your world in the last 2 years that deal with you specifically.
Donna.
Come on now.
Donna, you're going to make me do the drum roll.
Yes.
Drum roll.
Let's do it.
Hello.
Let's do it.
Yes, I am gay, yes. I came out 2 years ago, March 17th, so St. Patrick's Day.
It's been 2 years.
It was fun to have that reminder that I came out the day that everyone is getting drunk. That's really fun. I was getting drunk for a different reason. But, yes, I did. I came out 2 years ago. I also grew up in Gainesville, Georgia as well. I am a semi-regular attendee at Gainesville First United Methodist Church at this point. I go with my mother, whom I love and support dearly. And, so that whole, the issue with a capital I is what I call it. The issue.
I love how you've hung in there, though. I mean, I see you attending forums and discussions about things that are happening in the church as it relates to, homosexuality and gender and all these things that, are important to a lot of people. And I love how it obviously affects you. You obviously have to cringe when you hear some of what is said, but the fact that you continue to show up and be who you are, I admire that.
Well, it's nothing that, you hear like some of the arguments coming from the WCA, and it's nothing you haven't heard before. This whole discussion has played itself out on the national stage already, Mm-hmm. Back in 2004, you had like Bush saying that like he was going to introduce a constitutional amendment to make, to like ban gay marriage or whatever. I've heard all the arguments that like a family is one man and woman. I've heard like the psychological arguments that child development is hindered by having two male parents or two female parents. And then I've heard like the theological reasons, obviously, that like, and it's easy to be pretty reductive, like, oh, well, the Bible says, Leviticus, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I feel like this is actually really unfortunate to say, but, the whole issue of whether or not, gay marriage is playing itself out in the church. Like, I have no interest in joining the seminary or anything like that. So this is obviously me speaking from my own place of privilege, but, I think the issue has actually taken kind of a tangential place in my life. Like, it's happening almost at a distance.
Do you think that's because you're so supported and loved by your friends and family that you can?
100%.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think this would be like a lot more damaging, I guess, or upsetting. Like if I didn't have like a base of support. But I do. And so, yeah, it always feels like, the whole issues around, whether or not the church can affirm gay marriage has always been kind of acting at a distance. Like, I've always known that, like, if I get married, I can get married wherever I want. I can get married in a courthouse, I guess. Like, who cares? But, yeah, I guess it's also a testament to, like, how much of a distance, like, the organized church, not necessarily religion, but, like, the organization of the church has kind of taken a distant place in my life. Like, it's kind of moved back a little. And that doesn't mean, like, I've done some readings of parts of the Bible, I guess. I haven't read the whole thing. But I think it's a testament to, like the idea of going to a church and building a community at that church has not really taken a hold in my life. And I think that's kind of unfortunate, because I think that's what churches were originally designed for, at least in the Methodist sense.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, that's one of the core tenets of Wesleyan doctrine, is that you have small groups, core groups that you meet with. And I know you always kind of struggle with that. Like, you never really wanted to go to youth, and that was just not your jam. You didn't really want to do that. And I kind of, on the back end, looking back, I can kind of see, that probably didn't always feel like a place where you would feel at home.
I guess, yeah. I mean, high school and middle school were difficult times, though. I was going through a lot.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of, just confusion and just weird stuff. So.
When you say that, what do you mean exactly? Like,
confusion around my identity, like who I was.
yeah.
And
that has to affect everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously my sexuality was like a big part of that, but I think I'm still working through like some of the stuff that I'm experienced in middle and high school.
Yeah.
Just a lot of...
So do you see a counselor?
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I'm his mom, so obviously I know he's seen a counselor, but, his senior year, Mark and I didn't know. So we just, I just knew he was really angry. And so he called me one day. He was pretty frustrated at school. And I said, "Hey buddy, would you like to talk to someone about it?" And I said, "If you do, you make the decision, we'll pay for it." And I sent him some stuff, and he made his own appointment, and he went on his own, and we have met with her, his counselor, and you've continued that practice at the University of Georgia, haven't you?
Yes. I'm seeing someone at the Center for Counseling and Personal Evaluation.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of branch of the department, or of the School of Education.
Yeah.
So it's a bunch of grad students, supervising. They're doing like work for their majors or whatever grad students have. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think it's a good process. My, clinician and I have kind of like developed a good relationship so far.
Good.
So, so I'm still working through some of that, but, it's a good process. I recommend it for everyone. Even if you think you don't have problems, you will find out that you probably do. And it's just good to work through that process with another person.
So you had a supportive family.
Yes.
Supportive friends. You reached out to a counselor, so you had that support.
Mm-hmm.
What about friends or people out there who are in similar scenarios that don't have that? I mean, you said you come from a place of privilege. You come from a place of support as well, and you deserve every bit of it. But, I mean, there are so many young people who don't have the advantages and or support that you've had through this process, and it's still been excruciatingly hard for you, even under those circumstances. So I think as a church, as a group of people, as a community, we're in a position where we can really impact lives in a positive manner, or we can destroy them.
Well, and I was saying this before, which is that, I mean, even throughout American history, churches and religion have been kind of like a hotbed for almost progressive politics. It's kind of weird. Like, abolition started as a religious movement. Like the movement for public education in this country was spurred I think by Horace Mann, it was religiously minded. So it's not new for churches to be involved in social justice issues. And I think it's really unfortunate that a lot of organized religion has decided to almost kind of like take a back seat or opt for neutrality when it comes to issues of social justice. So, like, issues around criminal justice or youth homelessness. You have instances of churches offering mitigating circumstances like food or shelter, but not a whole lot of action around the causes.
Or the systems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I don't know. And churches have a lot of influence on some people's lives. And I don't think it has a big influence on mine, which I don't know if is a good thing or a bad thing. But
what if I were to say, though, maybe it has, but more indirectly? Think about it. Your mom is on staff at the United Methodist Church in the middle of all of this unfolding.
Yeah, I don't know how she does that. Like, she's actually been following it more closely than I have.
Yeah.
Like, I'll come home, at least before the coronavirus. Like, I'll come home, I'd come home and hear, like, some update that she's like, well, the General Conference is met in St. Louis or whatever. And I was like, I don't know, I was like, on Twitter, I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But, it is, I won't say it doesn't suck to see, like, a group of people meet up and say, we don't think that, like, the way, like, we don't think that you are valid, It sucks. There's no way around it. It just sucks.
Do you think that's possibly why a bit of the armor is up to deflect? I would be the same way. I'd be like, I don't have time for you. I'm kind of rising above it. I'm moving on. I'm like 10 miles down the road. You guys are still talking about it. I know that can happen, but I'm guessing too over the last, you couldn't have come out at a more like interesting time as your connection to the United Methodist Church with this situation that's kind of unfolded.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. But, I don't know. I don't know if y'all do, like, discussions of the Enneagram on this, but, like,
We have talked about the Enneagram.
And we cut all of it.
Oh, we did cut all of it.
I don't know. I don't want to say it wrong.
Okay. But...
Well, I am an Enneagram type 4 with a pretty strong 3 wing. So, I think if it's an instance of where, like, I'm not feeling valued or something, I will immediately, like, move on, or abandon something, or abandon a project or something like that, or a movement or I don't know. But, yeah, I guess you can say that my distancing myself from it has been a coping mechanism.
Okay. I appreciate you being honest about that and kind of getting a little deeper with me on it, because I really think that, on the outside, a lot of times we kind of project, and I've done it too. I've got walls up and I think I've kind of done the same thing in some ways, even though it hasn't impacted me like it has you. I'm like over it. Like, I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah.
These people deserve every bit of respect and love. And
yeah,
acceptance.
1 year ago, I was trying to talk Donna into staying on the praise team.
Yeah, I was gone.
Really?
All while I was trying to decide whether I was going to stay on staff at the church. But we're still here, and we're, I feel like...
Because there's so many people like us.
There are, and my heart I have a connectional heart, and I like to talk with people, and even if you don't agree with me, I want to hear what you have to say. But I think us sharing stories and sharing our hearts with one another is the only way to actually respect each other. But I am so grateful for the people who are on the front lines, who are allies for this issue. And who try hard to make it work.
Yeah, it's, I guess the issue is like I guess it does kind of impact me, you know, but I guess I've opted to distance myself from it.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a coping mechanism, but, it's how I'm working through it, you know?
Yeah.
So if you had to give one piece of advice to our leadership in the church as it relates to this matter, you know, just from your heart. I know you can get super analytical and you're super smart. You're wicked smart. What would you say? What would your advice be?
Listen and look. Listen to the testimony of people whose existence you're basically invalidating, and listen to their testimonies and experiences and look, because, I mean, you just have to look at hard numbers, which is that church membership is just down across the board. And I think that's because people don't see churches as visible presences in their communities. Until, of course, you see something like Donald Trump saying he's going to live stream, you know, Free Chapel or something like that. I think churches need to do more to make themselves active and visible in their communities, and whether or not that's a social justice position or not is, I guess, up to them. But, you know, church membership is down, and I think if churches don't find some way to right the ship, it's moving towards obsolescence.
That's a good word.
It's a grim prognosis, but, you know, that's what I feel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've gotten pretty deep in a matter of 35 minutes. Yes, believe it or not, we've talked for that long. And I asked the question to Boone before we started. I said, what topic is not okay to discuss? Because that was the question I wanted to know. And I've been wanting to know this for a while. You know, what's your position? How do you feel about the situation and your mom working at the church? And I just appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything for you, my dear.
Oh, I love that. And just being who you are. And we love you for who you are.
None of them are just, I love
and that's
you.
Johnny over there blowing you a kiss. No, this is great. This is great. You have a great future ahead of you. You're so smart.
Oof. That's refreshing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I need someone besides my therapist to tell me that.
No, I think you're amazing, and we appreciate you, and just really glad you were willing to step out and be on New Wine. And,
anything for y'all.
And we'll have you back one day and hear about you when you're fighting it out in the courtrooms. And,
thank you.
Yep, I can see it. Put some theatrical effort into it. All right. Take us out with a, what do you call when, not an intro?
An outro?
Outro.
Who made man's mouth?